is today's word of blessings for you. Joshua 5:13-15. Now when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" "Neither," he replied, "but as commander of the army of the Lord I have now come." Then Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence, and asked him, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. Today's title is "The Place You Are Standing is Holy." People are lonely. Even with many friends and families, we sometimes feel that we are all alone in this world. It is more so when you have a heavy burden of responsibility for others. The burden feels too heavy for us alone to carry. But there is no help in sight. What do you do at a time like that? This is exactly where Joshua was in. The leader and man of God Moses died before the Israelites entered the promised land. God told Joshua to take Moses' position as a leader. Although Joshua was courageous and faithful, the huge responsibility to lead Israelites to conquer the promised land made him fearful and lonely. Of course, God assured him that he will be with Joshua. Joshua believed it. They crossed the Jordan. God miraculously dried the Jordan as he told Joshua. That was one great miracle of God. But Joshua still had to overcome a lot more hurdles. Almost immediately after they crossed the Jordan, they were facing Jericho. The city wall of Jericho looked so high and so strong. Joshua must have felt intimidated. Conquering Jericho must have seemed an impossible task. At that very moment, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. He was none other than the commander of the army of the Lord. The commander said to Joshua, who fell face down to the ground, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." It's an amazing scene. When Joshua thought there was no help, God was already there. The place that Joshua thought completely foreign was the holy ground that God was residing. How awestruck Joshua must have been. How greatly comforted and encouraged he must have been. We often feel lonely and intimidated in our life like Joshua. We feel as if we are standing by ourselves before a huge enemy that seems invincible. We may have faith, but God is not in sight at all. What would you do? God tells us not to lose our heats. God is already there. The sword in his hand is already drawn, ready to fight for us. And if God is for us, who and what will be against us? Jericho will fall down and every other wall will too. Are you facing a huge wall in your life? Do you see no help coming? Are you feeling lonely and fearful standing before it? Take heart. Be strong and courageous. God is already there with a drawn sword. You just take off your sandals and kneel before God. You will see the holy God and his glory surrounding you. Amen.